Every winter, the ritual repeats. The scratchy throat arrives, the heaviness behind the eyes, the slow descent into congestion and fatigue. And every winter, millions of people reach for the same products: decongestants, pain relievers, lozenges, syrups. The packages promise relief. The fine print admits something quieter. These medications treat symptoms. They do not shorten the illness. They do not clear the infection. They manage discomfort while the body does the actual work. This is the standard. This is what modern medicine offers for the common cold. And yet there is a plant, used across Asia for at least 2,000 years, studied in modern clinical trials, subjected to meta-analyses, that has demonstrated something different. Not symptom suppression, reduction in illness duration, recovery accelerated by 3 to 5 days compared to placebo. The plant is called Kalmegh. It grows easily in warm climates. It cannot be patented. It is extraordinarily bitter, so bitter that the taste alone has shaped its entire history. The clinical literature exists. The traditional record is deep. The biological mechanisms have been mapped to pathways that pharmaceutical researchers now target with synthetic compounds. The question is not whether this plant works. The question is why a medicine validated by both centuries of use and modern trials remains invisible in the countries that spend billions on cold remedies that do far less. The bitter herb appears in Ayurvedic texts dating back centuries, though its use almost certainly predates the written record. In the classical system of Indian medicine, it occupied a specific role. It was prescribed for fever, for respiratory congestion, for the weakness that followed illness. The texts called it the King of Bitters, a title that was not metaphor. The plant's taste was so intensely unpleasant that the experience of consuming it became part of its identity. But taste did not diminish use. The opposite occurred. Across the Indian subcontinent, this herb became one of the most commonly employed remedies for infectious illness. Village practitioners kept dried leaves and stems in their stores. Households prepared decoctions when fever struck. The bitterness was endured because what followed was recovery. The knowledge did not stay in India. By the time trade routes connected South Asia to Southeast Asia and beyond, the plant had traveled with merchants, monks, and migrants. In Thailand, it became integrated into the traditional pharmacopoeia, used for intestinal complaints, for fever, for the general category of ailments associated with heat and infection. Thai traditional medicine still lists it among essential herbs. In China, practitioners of traditional medicine adopted it under different names. The applications were similar: respiratory infections, fever, inflammation of the throat and lungs. It entered formulas designed to clear heat and resolve toxicity, categories that map imperfectly but recognizably onto modern concepts of infection and inflammation. What is striking is the consistency. Across cultures separated by geography, language, and medical philosophy, the same plant was selected for the same purposes: fever, respiratory illness, infection, recovery. This was not coincidence. This was convergent observation, different peoples watching their sick, noticing what helped, and reaching the same conclusions. The herb was not a cure-all. It was not prescribed for everything. Its uses were specific, and they were consistent. Acute illness, short-term intervention. The period when the body confronts an invading pathogen and needs support. By the 19th century, Western botanists and colonial administrators had begun documenting the plant. They noted its extreme bitterness with a mix of curiosity and distaste. They recorded its widespread use without fully understanding the mechanisms behind it. Then came 1919. The influenza pandemic swept across India with devastating force. Mortality was staggering. Estimates suggest more deaths in India than in any other country. In the chaos, some communities turned to traditional remedies. The bitter herb was among them. Reports from the period are fragmentary, but accounts suggest that regions with strong traditions of herbal medicine may have fared differently. Whether this was the herb, other factors, or simple variation in disease exposure remains uncertain. What is documented is that the plant's reputation grew in the aftermath. It became associated with survival. In Scandinavia, far from the plant's native range, a different tradition emerged. Swedish researchers in the 20th century began investigating the herb for upper respiratory infections. It became available in pharmacies. Clinical trials were conducted. The Scandinavian countries, with their strong tradition of evidence-based botanical medicine, took the plant seriously. Meanwhile, in the English-speaking world, the herb remained obscure. It was not rejected on the basis of evidence. It was simply never evaluated. The infrastructure of Western pharmaceutical research was oriented toward patentable molecules, a plant that grew wild in Indian fields, that anyone could cultivate, that no company could own. This was not a promising investment. The knowledge continued in the countries where it had originated, but it did not spread. The reasons for obscurity are not mysterious. They are structural. First, there is the bitterness. The taste of this herb is not merely unpleasant. It is aggressively, memorably bitter. The kind of bitter that makes the mouth recoil, that lingers on the tongue, that discourages repeated use even when the benefits are known. Cultures with long traditions of herbal medicine accepted this. They developed preparation methods to mitigate it. They understood that medicine was not meant to taste like candy. Modern consumers, accustomed to flavored syrups and coated tablets, have different expectations. A product that tastes terrible is a product that does not sell. This is not a failure of the plant. It is a failure of palatability in a market that prioritizes experience over efficacy. Second, there is the problem of standardization. Botanical medicines are variable. The concentration of active compounds shifts with growing conditions, harvest timing, processing methods. A tea made from leaves grown in one region may differ from a tea made from leaves grown in another. This variability complicates dosing. It complicates quality control. It makes regulatory approval more difficult. Pharmaceutical companies solved this problem for synthetic drugs by manufacturing molecules in controlled conditions. Every pill contains the same amount. Every dose is predictable. This consistency is valuable. It is also easier to achieve with laboratory synthesis than with agricultural harvests. Third, and most decisive, there is the matter of intellectual property. A plant cannot be patented. Its compounds, if isolated and purified, can sometimes be protected, but the plant itself remains in the public domain. Anyone can grow it. Anyone can sell it. There is no exclusivity, no monopoly, no 20-year window of protected profits. The economics are unfavorable. Developing a pharmaceutical product requires investment, clinical trials, regulatory filings, manufacturing facilities, marketing. Companies undertake this investment because they expect returns. A patented molecule offers returns. A plant that grows in ditches does not. This is not conspiracy. It is simply capitalism operating as designed. The system allocates resources toward opportunities that promise profit. Opportunities that do not promise profit are ignored, regardless of their merit. The bitter herb was not suppressed. It was not attacked. It was simply not worth anyone's investment to promote. And so it remained where it had always been, in the villages, in the traditional pharmacies, in the countries that had never stopped using it. It continued to work. It continued to be prescribed by practitioners trained in older systems. It continued to help people recover from the same illnesses that drive billions of dollars in cold medicine sales. The plant did not fail. The system looked elsewhere. The science, when it finally arrived, confirmed what traditional practitioners had observed. The bitter compounds in this herb, a class of molecules that researchers have studied extensively since the 1980s, interact with the immune system in measurable ways. The most significant of these interactions involves a cellular pathway called NF-kappa-B. This pathway functions as a master switch for inflammation. When activated, it triggers the production of inflammatory signals. molecules that coordinate the body's response to infection, but can also cause collateral damage when produced excessively. Fever, aching, fatigue, the general misery of being sick. Much of this is inflammation doing its job. The compounds in this herb inhibit NF-kappa-B activation. They reduce the production of inflammatory signals like tumor necrosis factor and interleukin-6. They modulate the immune response rather than suppressing it. This distinction matters. Many common medications work by suppressing symptoms. They block fever. They reduce pain. They make the experience of illness more tolerable. But in doing so, they may also interfere with the immune processes that resolve infection. The body's signals are muted. The underlying illness runs its course on its own timeline. The bitter herb operates differently. Rather than silencing the immune system, it appears to support it, enhancing the response to pathogens while limiting excessive inflammation. Studies have demonstrated activity against influenza viruses and upper respiratory bacteria. The effect is not merely symptomatic. It appears to involve actual clearance of infection. The clinical evidence is substantial. Meta-analyses, systematic reviews that combine data from multiple trials, have consistently shown that extracts of this plant reduce the duration of upper respiratory infections. Patients recover faster. Symptoms are less severe. The improvements are not marginal. 3 to 5 days of reduced illness, replicated across studies, is clinically meaningful. Trials comparing the herb to placebo have shown reductions in sore throat, cough, nasal congestion, headache, and fatigue. Trials involving patients awaiting surgery have demonstrated anxiety reduction. Studies of liver function have revealed protective effects. The herb shields liver cells from toxins, enhances antioxidant enzyme activity, reduces markers of damage. The safety profile, when used appropriately, is reassuring. Thousands of years of traditional use did not reveal patterns of serious harm. Modern trials have confirmed this. The herb is not sedating. It is not addictive. It does not produce the rebound effects associated with some over-the-counter medications. There are caveats. The extreme bitterness limits palatability. High doses over extended periods are not recommended. Pregnant women are advised to avoid it. These are reasonable precautions, consistently documented in both traditional and modern literature. The plant is also remarkably easy to grow. It thrives in warm climates with minimal care. It tolerates poor soil. It matures quickly. Seeds are inexpensive. A packet costs less than a single box of cold medicine. For gardeners in suitable climates, cultivation is straightforward. The leaves can be harvested, dried, and prepared as tea or tincture using methods unchanged for centuries. The active compounds remain stable when properly stored. The shelf life is long. The processing is simple. There is, in short, no technical barrier to widespread use. The plant is effective, safe, accessible, and cheap. What it is not is profitable for the entities that shape modern pharmaceutical markets. The plant is called Kalmegh in the Ayurvedic tradition. Other names exist. The Thai call it Fa Talai Joan. The Chinese use the term Chuan Xin Lian. English speakers sometimes refer to it as the King of Bitters. It grows as an annual herb, reaching 2 to 3 feet in height. The leaves are lance-shaped, dark green, arranged in opposite pairs along the stem. The flowers are small, white or pale purple, unremarkable. The plant is not ornamental. It is not beautiful in any conventional sense. It is functional. It still grows wild across South and Southeast Asia. It is cultivated in India, Thailand, China, Indonesia. In some regions, it is gathered from roadsides and field edges. In others, it is farmed deliberately, the leaves harvested and dried for medicine. In the countries where traditional systems remain strong, it never disappeared. It is sold in markets. It is prescribed by practitioners. It is taken when fever strikes, when respiratory infection settles in, when the body needs support that modern pharmacies do not provide. In the West, it remains obscure but not entirely absent. Specialty supplement companies sell standardized extracts. Herbalists recommend it. A small but steady demand exists among those who have discovered its uses. The knowledge is not lost. It is merely overlooked. For those who wish to grow it, the process is simple. Seeds germinate readily in warm soil. The plant prefers full sun and good drainage. It matures in 3 to 4 months. The leaves and stems can be harvested before flowering for maximum potency. The taste will be bitter. There is no avoiding this. But the bitterness is part of the plant's identity, a marker of the compounds that make it effective, a reminder that medicine was not always designed to be pleasant. The herb has survived epidemics, survived the collapse of traditional systems, survived the indifference of industries that could not profit from it. It continues to grow where it has always grown. It continues to work as it has always worked. It does not need promotion. It does not need marketing. It simply exists in the fields and gardens of those who remember what it does. The question was never whether the plant was effective. The question was whether anyone would bother to look.